All right, calling the meeting to order. If I could have the prayer by Mr. Govan.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, once again we come to ask you for your blessings and your directions as you guide us through this meeting. We ask that you will allow us to make decisions that are fitting and beneficial to the children and the citizens of Darlington County School District. We ask God that you will allow us to have traveling buses as we return back to our respective homes. This we ask in your name. Amen.
And we'll have the pledge led by Mr. Dupree.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, Section 30-4-80E, South Carolina Code 1987, as amended, all the media in the immediate area have been notified of the date, time, location, and an agenda of the meeting. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion good. All right. Got a. Can I get a motion to go into an executive session?
Madam Chair, I move we go into executive session to meet with
Personnel matters.
Personnel matter.
Recommendations, determinations, hires, and transfers, and contractual matters.
Contractual matters.
All right, the motion on the table to go into executive session for personnel matters, recommendations, determinations, hires and/or transfers, and contractual matters.
Second.
Have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move into executive session. motion to come out of executive session.
Madam Chairman, I move we come out of executive session.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Actions that were taken during executive session, a committee was formed with Ms. Leanne Kelly, Mr. Luke Reed, and Mr. Warren Jeffords to serve on the RFQ committee for the architect for the new elementary school. Okay, do we have any motions coming out of executive session? Ms. Kelly?
I move that we uphold the administration's recommendation that the board make a formal complaint to the State Board of Education requesting that appropriate action be taken against a professional employee of the district who breached his or her employment contract with the district.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. All right, our next item is our citizens' comments, and we have one individual on the thing, Mr. Mark Bays. Before you come up, Mr. Bays, let me read this. The first 30 minutes of the monthly meeting will be set aside for 3-minute input sessions with citizen participation. Participation will be approved on a first-come, first-talk basis as recorded on a log which is provided. Public input should be in the form of suggestions, information, or comments pertaining to programs, schools, or the school district. Based on legal advice of our council, comments should not be made either complimentary or critical, naming any student, school employee, administration, or board member, as these matters are personnel matters that require an executive session. Speakers' comments will be received only as board information. Mr. Mark Pace.
Does this mean I get the whole 30 minutes?
No, you get 3 minutes.
Who's the timekeeper? You are? Okay. All right, good. I am Mark Face. Can somebody get these to them? I'm handing out some brochures. This is for information only, but it's good information. So I am Mark Face with a group of about 12 organizations that's growing. We're about 12 to 18 right now, called Community Connections at Darlington. We're a faith-based group that is in the process of renovating a building here in Darlington to turn it into a community center called Crazy Hope Community Center. The information we're bringing to you is because we want to include the school and our children in this. We are planning on having a tutoring center there for the younger kids. There's nothing like that available in Darlington I'm aware of. To bring in the older kids from the different schools, Darlington High and Mayo, so they get community hours to help tutor the kids and create those connections. We also presently have enlisted the DCIT graphic arts students to create a logo for us to be able to copyright and be exclusive to our group. And one of our leaders in our group is Miss Wallace. She's a teacher here at Darlington High. Can I say her name? Can I say that? Okay. Well, I just did. Anyway, she's taken the lead on getting the different art teachers at Darlington High and Mayo to create a mural artwork for us on the building. The artwork that's currently downtown on Pearl Street is absolutely phenomenal and very, very beautiful, and the kids at Mayo were instrumental in that, in doing that. And so we want to include them. And so we're bringing this to the board for information in hopes that you would read over the brochure. You would go to our website, which is recently launched. It's not on the pamphlets because it wasn't built at that time, but it's Community Connections Darlington, all one word, .org. It'll give you much more information about what we're doing, and this will give information. We just hope that you would be advocates for us and tell everybody that you know what we're doing. And I'm going to leave these extras with you.
Thank you so much.
Did I do all right?
You did all right.
You did. All right, thank you, sir. All right, we've got our consent items, adult education admissions.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of the administration.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Next consent item, we have our minutes for the January 9th and the January 23rd meeting. Regular meeting and then the board session.
We will approve them.
Second.
You will take them together?
Together.
Okay. We have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And that passes. All right, next we're moving on to our honors and awards and recognitions. First up is our All-State Cross Country team. Mr. Johnson.
Madam Chairman and board members, it's my pleasure to recognize some student athletes of ours. Anytime we have students that are doing good in the classroom as well as on the court and field, we like to recognize them. And first, we're going to have a Hartsfield High School junior, Miss Caitlin Nutt, and she made South Carolina High School League All-State Cross Country Team. If Caitlin is here, please come forward. So Mr. Lewis will accept her award on her behalf.
Do we know what Caitlin's PR time was?
I do not. But
Fast.
since I tried, now I'm working on a new PR.
Next, we have 8 students, 7 from Lamar High School, that were recognized all-state football team. As I call your name, please come forward. First, we have Montavious Dalford, Gabriel McAllister. And if you could come to the front, take a picture with the superintendent and board chairman. Gabriel McAllister. Michael McFadden. Tyler McManus. Nazir Stevenson.
Come on, Jordan. Congratulations.
Kendall Walton. And Jaquan Tony.
Congratulations. Great job.
Good job there.
Congratulations.
Some of y'all may need to swing on this side. Come on up. I don't bite.
Cheers for your kid. Congratulations.
Good job there.
All right, if everybody could look over at me, please. Hold on just a second, okay? Wait, one more, sorry.
You got parents can stand up and take pictures if you need to.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
We'll hold.
You can come up closer if you need to.
Good job. All right.
And we're telling Jaquan to stay up because Jaquan was also selected as the Defensive Player of the Year in 1A football.
Great, thank you.
Next, we have another All-State football selection, and that is Jashawn Anderson from Hartsfield High School. Jashawn was also selected as the 2022 Touchstone North-South All-Star Football Game as well. So congratulations. Coach Calabrese was scheduled to come, but he's under the weather.
Yes. Smile. Perfect, thank you.
Again, thanks to all our student athletes.
Oh, I got some more. No. All right, let's see. All right, now let's move on to our Junior Beta Club, and this is Miss Carlady King.
All right, good evening. We have 3 students that we're going to recognize for academic awards today. And we'll start out, as Ms. Hassler said, with our Junior Beta Club. Would Lene McRaven please come forward? And would her parents please stand? She won first place for the elementary jewelry competition.
Yeah.
Her principal is Ada Sindab.
Congratulations.
Get your picture. There we go.
Like a pretty nifty award.
He can hear beside us.
Come on in. There we go. All right.
Thank you. All right, we have one other student from Brockington Elementary also. Miss Riley Moore won first place for the elementary painting competition.
Yes. Congratulations.
Get that around there. Yep, turn around. It's the right way. Okay. There you go.
Thank you.
Good job.
We have one middle school student who is going to be recognized today from Hartsville Middle School for being selected to participate in the South Carolina Junior All-State Band, Mr. Shriji Patel of Hartsville Middle School. Under the direction of Mr. Marlon Ketter and Principal Don Doggett.
What instrument do you play? Bassoon.
Bassoon.
All right.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you and congratulations to our
Okay. We good.
And thank you, family and parents and friends of all of the students. We appreciate seeing you tonight.
And we'll take a minute here if anybody wants, if y'all want to stay, or you're welcome to stay, but if you want to leave, now's a good time to exit. We'll hold. Okay, the next Board of Education work session will be on February 23rd. And then the next Darlington County Board of Education, is that the 23rd or the 27th? 27th. We had the 23rd. And then the next regular meeting, the next Darlington is scheduled for March 13th at 6 o'clock in the board training room in the Darlington County Administrative Office building. That is that. All right, Dr. Newman, I'm going to turn this over to you next for our goals update.
Madam Chair, members of the board and members of our audience, our annual updating on a monthly basis. Of course, safety and security is our first goal that we have discussed, and over the past few weeks, specifically, we had our countywide municipality meeting that we actually were able to engage them with about school safety and what that looks like from the different municipalities as well as the different folks that were there. We participated in several different exercises to glean information from that group, and we actually came out of that meeting with a member of each municipality that is going to participate on a safety and security task force that we're putting together. We're also planning on incorporating our pastors and ministers and our business community as well to try to have some just real conversations about what's been going on in our communities and in our schools and how that's impacted us. I don't have to say a whole lot to anybody in this room about how difficult it has been, specifically with the violence that we've had in our communities, but there are students that are being impacted and affected and quite frankly that have died. And so you know, everybody's trying to figure out whose responsibility is, and I'm grateful for the opportunity that we had to have those conversations and look forward to what that looks like moving forward. So next steps is to get the other members on the task force. We've already contacted the group that sent us their names. We just finished up writing up all of the comments that were made by everybody. We will be sending those out to all the participants from that particular meeting, and then getting a date put down for that next meeting that we have. So stay tuned for that, and of course, we look forward to updating the board on that as we move forward. While we are on winter break, next week we'll actually be doing some Raptor training again with administration and kind of tightening down what that system looks like. Of course, we all know that we're using Raptor for our drills as well as our front of school checks for our visitors that come in to see us, and so we'll be having lots of conversations about that in that meeting that's coming up. Again, just to talk about new ways, what's working, what's not working, what can we help improve. It gives us a good chance to look at that since we've been able to implement over the past few months. And then last on safety security, of course, our weapons detectors that we are utilizing in our high school, middle schools. The schools have really done a good job, especially at athletic activities that we've had. So basketball games, I know we've had our high schools and middle schools been able to implement those and have been very efficient at getting crowds working through with those. So that's the safety and security. Mental health supports, we've had really good conversations with MUSC. We are actually working on a grant with MUSC through the Byerly Foundation on something called art therapy, but it's primarily mental health supports using the arts. And this is something that MUSC is doing with several school districts around the state. We're excited to partner with them on this possibility. More to come on that. Again, we're in the grant application process for that. And then, of course, with mental health supports, I always want to talk about our Orange Frog Initiative. Our February challenge is Love Your Neighbor. And so, you know, for Valentine's, Valentine's Day is tomorrow, and that's for that significant other in your life. But for our schools, it's more about showing love and compassion to our neighbors. And I know, you know, for example, we had one of our elementary schools that collected blankets, and were able to take those to one of the nursing homes that are close by to them. Again, just showing the community and showing our students what that looks like to give and to see the smiles on the faces and what that looks like. So again, Orange Frog February Challenge is Love Your Neighbor. Our parental involvement goal that we have, our third goal, again, our Ready for Kindergarten initiative kicked off a couple weeks ago. We had our first meetings. The folks that showed up were very appreciative, but what I would say is we need more people. We need more of our families involved. This is primarily for parents with children that are between the ages of 1 and 3 years old, and we're trying to get them out into our schools and our communities, engaging with us, teachers, engaging with administrators, just how to help prepare their children for what it's going to be like when they come to school with us, whether that be in 4K or 5K. So again, I think it's a great initiative. And the people that were there enjoyed it. We just want to encourage more parents to participate in those programs with us in our communities. And then again, I wanted to make that parental involvement. I'll give a shout out to Lamar Spalding. You all had a family game night that you engaged your parents with, and had a chance to reach out. Again, that's what we're trying to do with all of our schools. Every school has plans, and they've got their examples of how they are trying to bring in more parental involvement, guardian involvement, and how we can engage more. And then, of course, academic achievement, which is our other goal that we always have at the forefront. We've been doing lots of professional development. We've been training our coaches in the coaching cycle, specifically our CTs that we have that are in our buildings that are math and science, and working through professional development with them about how they can help their teachers in the buildings for those content areas. and what that professional development looks like for them. We're also doing our what we call learning rounds, which is groups of teachers across the district going into buildings to see how other teachers are teaching in other schools. And so what we're trying to do is get best practices here. And so that allows teachers to go across, from across the district, to go to certain buildings to see the best teachers in those buildings, but also just to see how instruction is happening in those buildings. Learn from it, and take things back to their buildings. Again, discussions with the professional learning communities when they get back to their schools about what they're seeing. So that's going not only with math across the district, but also ELA grades 3 through 5. And then also our academic enhancement programs have started up, which is our after-school programs that we are doing. Again, long list of schools that are participating, and I know we're having some transportation difficulties as far as getting enough buses to help, but last I heard earlier today, it seems like we've got most every school covered for this, so we're excited about getting our students to be able to stay after school with us, to again help the most neediest, you know, to get more, to be able to help them catch up and stay on track for finishing up the year. And then also we have our student school goals updates that we're working with our principals and schools on, which again is looking at the academic goals that are being set based off the new accountability system at the state level, and having those discussions, but also social-emotional and well-being of our students, and what that looks like throughout the year as well. Those groups have been meeting. And the last thing I'll mention, this is a new project I was talking to Dr. Harder from Coker University about. We are trying to put together a program. We're starting off with Hartsville High School, but we're hoping to spread this out to all of Darlington County, about giving more of our graduates an opportunity to go to college and create more possibilities for college for students and families that may not think they can do that. What we're trying to do is identify up front in their junior year students that have, you know, a certain GPA, to be able to say, look, you can do this. This is a possibility for you. And financially, if you didn't think that was possible, here's how that can be possible for you. Academically, if you thought that wasn't possible, it can be possible for you. So, and help give them mentors through the university on supporting those students. So again, it's starting off with a small pilot this year. We're hoping to get acceptance letters out to students within the next 6 weeks or so. But look forward to working with Coker on that possibility, which is also a joint project with Florence Darlington Tech. It may be best for some students to get some classes at Florence Darlington Tech before they go to Coker, you know, whether it be for financial reasons or academic reasons as well. So we're trying to do a collaboration between our 2-year and our 4-year and our high schools on making college more of a possibility for more of our students. And so, again, I was very glad to hear those conversations take place, and look forward to updating the board on that in the future. And that's the annual goals update for February.
Anybody have any questions for Dr. Newman?
The after-school kids, we identify those, or did we just open it up for people who needed extra help? Or?
We started identifying those most in need, where it starts, and then if there's enough space, depending on how many adults we have working, and buses, transportation, all that, if there's enough, we do open it up. So in the past, we have, you know, been able to fill the needs of the most neediest and have other people participate. But it always starts with ones, you know, we just did the most recent MAP testing. So we identify those students based on MAP testing, grades 3 through 8, that, you know, that we have identified needing help. But if there is space, yeah, we do open it up.
How is transportation with that?
So it's, you know, again, it's extra routes after the regular day. And so that's, you know, been the difficulty, I would say. But we have been able to recruit enough bus drivers to do that. Again, you know, it's extra pay and it's more pay, but that's been one of the tough ones to work with.
So there's no cost associated with it, and transportation is provided. So these
Absolutely.
students, there's no additional.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Dr. Newman, with those students who earn the credits at Coker, are those transferable in case they decide not to go to Coker but to go elsewhere, or is that a lock in just to Coker?
No, they would be transferable. And so that's one of the things that they'll be looking at is based on where that student is as a junior, what courses do they need to accommodate, whether it be in high school,
Right.
whether it be potentially through Florence Darlington Tech or through Coker. But anything they obtained that was college credit, they would be able to transfer.
Dr. Newman, in all fairness to other high schools, when are they gonna be able to get in that type of program? Cause we may miss someone who's qualified to be in that program.
Ms. Gore, I agree, and you know, the conversation was very much about Darlington County, and not just one specific school, but again, they're trying to put this together as a pilot for the next 6 weeks, because they gotta get those letters out immediately. The hopes would be that next year we would be able to pick up the rest of our schools.
I have one more question about the parental involvement in the early childhood. What changes are they making to try to get more participation in that?
Yeah, I think it's getting the message out. You know, that's the biggest thing, is trying to get the PR out, trying to get the communication piece out. Siblings that may be in our schools currently, trying to let those parents know for their younger siblings. You know, it's just an all hands on deck trying to get the word out. To be able to come
Are we
into our
working with our
buildings.
pediatricians
I
and
think
our
that would be-
pediatrician offices and get this information into our pediatricians' offices?
We can get it there.
That would be another place that would be a good communication.
I mean, and are we also even putting, I mean, because it's at the 1 year mark, but they, at birth, they get these packets of stuff. I mean, if you stick one in there, because there may be another kid at home.
Yep.
I mean, working with Carolina Pines or,
We certainly, you know, again, we want to unturn all the stones that we can as far as to get the participation in, and any place that deals with young children of that age, we certainly would want to approach.
Or even our dentist offices.
Yep.
We can head to Eastern Carolina Pediatrics right there by the War Department
So
also.
we can figure out how to get them flyers. I think would be the best way to get these offices flyers.
Darlington County Community Action Agency. Yeah,
So they're involved as well as First Steps and, no, not, well, we can go with DSS. What is the other, starting program? I know, Head Start.
Head Start, yes.
Head Start,
Head Start, First Steps,
Yes, so
Darlington
they are
Community
involved.
Action Agency.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
and I've got one question about the coaching with Coker. Is this coaching also involving working with selection of majors so that the ROI for going to college? I mean, because there's not, this may not become completely debt-free. I mean, you may get some Pell Grants, but you may end up with some out-of-pocket student loans. So are we counseling these students, you know, on job opportunities that they could go into that's gonna allow them to pay off any debt that they would incur?
I think that's absolutely, you know, part of the process is that not only the ability to go to college, but what jobs can you obtain
Right.
with the degrees that you potentially could be getting, and how will that look like financially for you? I think it's kind of an all-encompassing piece of exposing families to college, and how that could be done academically and financially after graduation as well.
I mean, because you're asking an 18-year-old to make a commitment for $30,000 or more who have no financial sense.
Sure.
So just want to make sure that that's part of the coaching piece. All right, any other comments on that? All right, we have our budget reports. Just need to move that back. Any comments about our budget reports? Any questions? For anyone? All right. That brings you up, Mr. Miller. bringing up our recruitment and retention update.
Gladly, thank you. I know we do this every month, but thought this time we'd take a little bit of a deeper dive about where we are with recruitment, retention, heading into the spring. This is certainly the busy time in HR, so we want to kind of update you on some projections we have heading into contract time. There's really three primary things we look at when we project where we're going to be at the May 10th contract deadline. That's our current vacancies, our anticipated vacancies, and where we are with our international teachers. So I'll cover those very briefly. Current vacancies, we're at 13 today, so I'm going to answer your question before you ask it. 13 as of this afternoon. That's 5 middle school, 8 high, and 7 of those are special ed. That, again, that doesn't mean there's not a person in there. We've got a long-term sub in all of those, but of course we prefer to have a certified teacher in those. So 13 current vacancies. And then intent forms closed last week. They ran the end of January, where teachers let us know their intent for the upcoming year. Based on that, we have 18 that we're going to lose in addition to the 13 that we currently have. That's 12 resignations, 6 retirements, and that's roughly where we were over the past 2 years. Of course, nothing's set in stone. You won't know until May 10th when the contracts come due, but those are 2 components for our projection. And then third is a good look at our international teachers. We have a little over 90 international teachers district-wide. Half of and there's 3 tiers of international teachers, and each tier, based on the visas that they hold to be able to work in the United States, each tier makes them a little more permanent. So about half of that 90 are on the J visa, which is a cultural exchange program. That's 45 teachers. The other half are a mixture of H program, which is a work visa, which lasts up to 6 years, and then PERM, which used to be called a green card. Now it's just referred to as a PERM, a permanent residence. And there's several ways you can get a PERM. One of those is by an employer, and we only have maybe 2 or 3 of those. So about half of ours are in the J program. Those are through sponsoring agencies, and through the teacher shortage, the agencies that sponsor the J visas have gotten a lot more stringent on their protocols because they dictate what happens with a teacher when a visa status changes. So when you go from that exchange visa to the work visa, because of our contract with these sponsors, they have a lot of control over what happens there. So we're looking closely at those. Our biggest sponsor for the J visa is EPI, a company called EPI. We currently have 30 teachers with them. 11 of those we may lose going into next year because of that change in visa status. The other 19 we hope to hold on to with the change of visa status. So you put all those 3 components together, current vacancies, projected vacancies, and the international teacher situation, our projection around May, contract time is 62 vacancies. To put that in perspective, we had 69 vacancies when contracts came due last time. So about where we were last year. And then we started the year with 42 vacancies last August. I want to touch briefly on some incentives, remind you of what you do as an incentive for our teachers. So this past year, our biggest selling point when we're out recruiting is that we're the highest paying district in the PD. So value that you're able to do that for our folks. That is our biggest selling point. That's what we're most proud of when we're out talking and competing for teachers. So we start at $43,000 for a first-year teacher right out of college. On top of that, this past year was a $1,000 induction bonus. We offer a $1,250 critical needs bonus through a grant we received called the Rural Recruitment Initiative. So if you teach in one of those critical areas, the ones that are hardest to fill, which is typically math, special ed, if you teach in one of those areas, you get an additional $1,250. You award a $1,000 holiday bonus. $1,500 signing and retention bonus, which is critical because all the districts are doing that. So put all that together, if you fall into multiple categories, a first-year teacher coming to Darlington County, several made $46,250 right out of college. And you talk about a selling point when we're out recruiting. You tell a first-year teacher they can make over $46,000. And again, you have to be first-year teacher, you get your induction bonus, special ed, maybe you're a critical needs teacher, so they don't all make that, but the more boxes you check with the incentives we provide, the higher your chances are to get all of the bonuses together. So we're very proud of that. Compared to other districts, the only area where we're kind of below the average is the retention and signing bonus. Average in districts around us and about our size across the state is 2,500, and we gave 1,500. So if I could wave my magic wand, I'd love to see our retention and signing bonus be higher. Some districts do it as one, like we did. We did a $1,500 bonus if you're coming back or if you're new. Some districts split it up and say, well, $2,000 if you're new, $1,500 is if you come back. A lot of different ways to do it, but the average is about 2,500. And then finally, I want to, we're very proud of, I gave you a flyer, March the 4th. That's what we want to do. We want to March 4th on March 4th and go out and recruit. So we have a major hiring event. We're going to take over Mayo, Conference Center and Gym. Every school is going to be represented, every department, from custodial services, maintenance, food service, certified teachers, TAs, nurses, you name it. We're hiring for current everything I just mentioned, current vacancies, prospective vacancies, projected vacancies. We'll have an international teacher cohort. They're great recruiters back home. They have friends and colleagues back home who would love to come work for us. So we're canvassing over the next 3 weeks to advertise for this, social media, digital media, radio, a big advertising push for this event. But we're really looking forward to it. You're all invited. It's from 9 to 1, March the 4th at Mayo.
Do we have any billboards?
Billboards, no ma'am.
Is that?
We looked at that. What I'm hearing is that most of you don't get a lot of ROI on a billboard, but I can look at that a little deeper if you like.
We may can talk to Mayor Boyd and use his digital.
It is on his. We did the free one, so it's on Mayor Boyd.
But I would think you'd want to do it not in our district.
Well, he drives that thing everywhere. Yeah, I've seen it in Lake City.
I'm just saying I would do neighboring districts.
So he has agreed to do that for us. It's already on there, but not actual billboards. We have not known. Something we
I
can
mean,
look
I
at.
just remember seeing the Florence ones.
It's Florence in our district.
I mean,
That's what I was
just-
saying, neighboring.
And to be fair, we did look at it, but what they're telling us is most people don't decide about coming to work in the school district based on what they saw.
If
on
I
a
saw,
billboard.
But,
I
Mr.
might
Boyd, did you get some window
the school
space?
district in the PD.
Yeah.
I might would put the brakes on a little bit and read it closer.
Yeah. So we'll
Anyway,
certainly
just
look
a
into that.
question.
And we have it on Facebook and all those places, I guess, right?
Yes, that's right. There'll be there was an initial push last week. There'll be a big for principals to push it out. It's going to all staff this week to get on social media.
This might be jumping the gun a little, but based on recruitment and retention, what would you say a dollar figure would be, given what the state plan has talked about doing in the government, would be a starting fee, an amount that we need to look at?
I tell teachers if we could pay what they're worth, they'd be millionaires.
I understand.
I don't know. I can't. I better not. In this venue, I better not put a dollar
Well,
figure on it.
and you know, Mr. Govan, at the state level, we don't know if everybody's gonna get that money or just the districts that aren't paying. Otherwise, if we're paying more than what the state's paying, are we gonna get any of that money? Or is it once again just going to the districts that aren't paying, that are just paying the minimum right now?
So that's my point. If that's the case, then if the state goes to 44,000 and we are at 43 now, and we are in the top in the PD, that says we're gonna have to increase somewhere, some amount.
Yep.
Now, you may not want to say that figure now, but I do think it's a conversation that needs to be thought about, and I think it's one you're going to need to come with a recommendation.
But I would hope that our district is fighting like crazy with the State Department, saying if we put forth, and we've made that commitment ourselves out of our pocket, that if any incremental amount adjusted above that, we should receive that so we maintain our position. from our funds.
Yeah.
That's the fight we need to be fighting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. And also, you know, recognize the fact that we did a sign-on bonus / retention last year. We don't have anything in place for this year right now. And, you know, we're already seeing all the advertisements for the other districts around us where they have hit the go button on those types of things. So, you know,
But that's more of the reason why I raised the question that we need to look at that. I mean, if you're gonna do it, you need to be proactive, opposed to waiting later to talk about doing it. Especially when everybody is either signing a contract or signing if they're gonna sign a contract or whether they're gonna move.
yes, we do need to do that sooner than later. If we're gonna be competitive, we need to have that conversation the next time we get together.
Sure.
I know it's a little hard to probably quantify, but money's only part of the equation, right? I mean, there's the environment and the culture and the other incentives, you know, and that you get beyond your salary. Is there any way that you're working to like sell those aspects of our district?
Sure. Well, the two big initiatives that are helping with that are the Orange Frog Initiative, which is we're in year two of that initiative. That's gone a long way to improve morale. And then we're doing a project which is focusing only on teacher morale and improving it, gathering data, which is kind of subjective. It's a hard thing to get data on, but that's a big project that we're working on. So as we go out and recruit, we talk about those things, the attempts we're making to improve all the intangibles. That's not just monetary, absolutely. It's good that you point that out.
Do you have teachers that are helping recruit other teachers?
Yes, and we do have a recruitment incentive. So if you recruit someone and they end up getting hired, you get a $100 bonus.
And did I hear correctly that we don't have a retention bonus in place for teachers
For this
to
current
stay?
year, for this current year.
How many staff did we lose this past year?
I'm showing that we're paid a retention bonus. We lost 24,
And did we recoup all our bonuses?
all but 4.
And
Were
some of those were
certified
partial.
positions or non-certified?
All non-certified.
All
Well,
non-certified.
Non-certified.
We
Some of them
recouped
were
from
partial.
some certified. I mean, there was 10 or 12, I think, that, it's easier to recoup from theirs. But,
Okay.
But out of
out of
1,660 that we
1,636,
gave,
there's only 4 who didn't get full, and I hadn't given up on that, so.
Thank you.
And can I ask one more small question? I'm
Yes,
new,
ma'am.
so
Yes, sir.
what does this look like compared to pre-COVID? Like your vacancies that you're anticipating? I mean, I know that COVID obviously.
It is
had an impact.
recovering back to pre-COVID numbers. It was definitely a dip, 21, but it's,
We've got a ways to go before we get back to pre-COVID numbers.
you know, and other things like class size, for example. That's a big deal too. You know, that when you talk about those intangibles, you know, we can speak a lot to that, what we've done over the past few years, especially in our elementary schools, you know, working those sizes down. So,
Thank you.
Are we doing anything to reduce teachers, paperwork for teachers? I keep hearing this all the time, we have more and more reports.
well, it's interesting you brought that up. That's you know, there's legislation that has just been passed, that, you know, there's a 30-minute unencumbered time for all teachers now. Primarily is gonna impact elementary schools because middle schools and high schools that's pretty much built in. But, you know, that's something that we're gonna have to address in our district, every school district across the state, is how do you work that 30 minutes of unencumbered time in to the point you're speaking of, to give them some more time.
But that doesn't answer really Warren's
That's not the
question.
question,
All that's
yeah.
doing is give them time to do a lot of unnecessary paperwork, and that's my problem. Again, it's back to that fight for state, guys. I mean, we say this all the time, they just don't have time to do the teaching part because they're doing things that are irrelevant. I mean, 90% ask them, is any of what they're doing with the paper stuff, is that really relevant to teaching? And it's not. Ask any of them, and that's the problem. Give them more time. Let them go off. Give them a whole day. You still got unnecessary paperwork.
Still gotta do it.
Yeah, I just,
And
I just, you know,
there is a task force that's meeting at the state level on that with teachers, school personnel, State Department personnel.
and I say that to you because you're in communication, you're talking to them.
Yep.
And in reality, what that 30 minutes does is take 30 more minutes out of the classroom, to be honest with you. So they're not doing the child any favors.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's gonna create different challenges. I don't know what,
Without a doubt.
it may not solve the problem as much as it creates just a different challenge. And, you know, our principals, we've had initial conversations about it. We'll be talking again about it on Wednesday, but, you know, we gotta come up with a plan because it's law now.
See, and again, that's what I'm saying. We're reacting to what they're dictating, and that's the wrong way to do it. And that's the frustrating thing about this.
I'm new, so is there any way at some point that, I mean, I'm sure you do this, but to help me understand or the board understand what we can control versus what the state dictates? I mean, I know you guys, I'm sure, know that, but if you could share, if there's ever anything that the board can do, I'm not asking you to answer right now, but please
Yep.
let us know that
And
how we can
absolutely.
impact that, or if there's advocacy we need to do at the state level or anything.
Yep. And we have a good opportunity this week, actually, to learn a little bit about some of those things.
I'll be doing some learning.
So,
Better, we know who gets to go to Charleston next year.
yes.
All right, that finishes that up. All right, let's move on to our capital projects update. And Mr. Johnson, thank you so much for sending this out for our review prior to the meeting. Everyone should have received a copy of that in Dr. Newman's update.
And I'll just talk very briefly about just some of the things that we're trying to do. One of the things that Dr. Newman always talk about during our Monday morning meetings is about facilities. How do we keep facilities up to make sure that our staff and students are entering buildings that they're comfortable with, that our parents are comfortable sending their kids to. We've been fortunate to have 2 architects that we can utilize to help with projects, because typically where that process works is if we have a project that we have to do, we have to get an architect to give us plans and then move forward. You know, fortunately for the past year maybe, we've had Mosley Architecture as well as Jumper Carter Seats to do small projects to help us expedite those processes pretty quickly. I have Corey McCalla here from Mosley, and I have Joel Carter from Jumper Carter Seats, and they're going to talk briefly about some of the smaller projects that we're doing. Mosley is going to touch on, you know, Mayo and Building 400, some bathrooms at Lamar, bathrooms that we'll be doing at Hartsfield High School. Jumper Carter Seats will address what we're doing in this building. But I want to take time to give Corey a chance to come up. Mr. Jordan, our Director of Maintenance, he facilitates all this. He communicates with both of them. He keeps everything going forward. Our principals give us the information that they want to do. We send out, you know, some wish lists and things that we try to do to make their school better. And these gentlemen help us do it. So, Corey.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Give a quick update on the projects that Mosley Architects are working on with Darlington County School District. We have 3 projects that we're doing right now. A small bathroom renovation to Lamar and a cafeteria bathroom renovation to Mayo. And both those projects have gone through OSF approval. They've been fully approved. So our next steps are to put those on the streets to bid, to have those started. And then the DCIS Building 400 project, we're currently working with OSF on some permit review issues that have come up. We're well on our way with them. We've come to an agreement that we're trying to move forward with those and get those to the next step for full permit review, or full permit approval as well.
Where is that? DCIS?
DCIS and Adult Ed, it's the building behind.
It's an older classroom building that we're converting to offices and esports labs.
Yeah, stretch of buildings behind, well, in front of the gym.
And some of these projects are things that we've had discussions on over the past two and a half years. These things are proposed. We have not committed to move forward. Like he said, he does all the legwork as far as OSF, any design procedures that we have to do. He does all the legwork for that. So we present this to the board as possible things that we can go ahead and move forward. Like we talked about with the things about Lamar High School bathrooms. You know, the bathrooms are older and they need something done to them, and that's why we felt like, after talking to the administrator, that administrators at Lamar High School, that's something that we want to move, forward as far as doing. So numbers that you have are proposed numbers. We won't have definite numbers until we put it out to bid, if that's at the board pleasure.
How big is that building? That building 400?
Just under 10,000 square feet.
Wow, that's pretty big.
And the other thing that is impacting is, we all know what's happened to pricing over the past couple of years. So all of these projects, we had preliminary thoughts about pricing 2 years ago. They've significantly changed. And so that's the other piece of this, is that, the prices continue to escalate on us.
Unfortunately, it's a moving target all the time with the pricing of everything going up and down. It's started to level off a little bit, just general and building construction right now. But that is the challenge we're having to navigate, especially for the past 2 years. Is it's quite unpredictable. Whereas 5-10 years ago, you could put a hard number on escalation.
So what are we gonna move in there? So it's vacant now, right? There's nothing else? So other than those E-labs, what offices are moving in there?
The annex currently houses personnel right now. And so, the annex is in close proximity to St. John's and all the other, so we're thinking at some point in time, because we don't want to keep dumping money necessarily into the annex as well. So it's kind of moving things around. But there's a couple other things you'll hear about on here where there might be some other possibilities. So,
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
and Mr. Johnson, for example, on the bathrooms, that's something that we've been talking about for 2 years now. And 2 years ago, it was probably 150 maybe that we were looking at, somewhere in that neighborhood. Wasn't that what we had 2 years
For
ago?
Lamar High School, it probably was closer to 70.
I'm talking about Mayo.
Or which one?
Mayo.
Oh, Mayo, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And now you're talking upward,
It's close to $500,000.
yes, $500,000.
Because of the market prices. Same thing, we've been talking about the Lamar, bathrooms.
Softball
Yeah.
restroom. Yeah, we've been talking about that for 5 years.
Yeah, and look at how the pricing has continued to
We should
escalate
have
on
done it
us.
5 years ago.
So, all of these things, when we looked at them, previously, they were manageable.
Yeah.
Now it's gonna come down to what is the have-tos. So,
What's a Spalding Middle School press box?
What that is where they, during the football game, where they stand and.
Yeah, I know what a press box is, but what was done to it?
We're rebuilding it ourselves. We're doing that internally.
Okay, can we get Hartsville High School press boxes on this list?
And for what? Can you tell me a little
At
bit?
the football stadium?
Yes. As far as what do you want done?
I mean, there's mold on ceiling tiles, there's the wall surfaces are peeling off.
It is. And Mr. Jordan and myself walked that facility on Thursday or Friday last week, to kind of take a look at what we need to do. There's some peeling in the walls. Now, I didn't see any mold.
It's on the visitors press box.
Electrical issues there?
Yeah, we went
And that's where we just put in the new,
windows.
the new windows, but this looks like there was a leak from the ceiling, because it's on the ceiling. I can show you a picture if
Right.
you'd like.
And again, we went Thursday or Friday last week. There's some things that we're gonna have done prior to football season. One is paint, one is pressure wash the floors on both sides. We're talking to Ms. Brad Boo, who's the AD, about possibly some additional furnitures in those facilities. So all of that will be upgraded and done.
I mean, whatever surface is the wall surface right now, it keeps getting painted and it peels
It does.
off.
It
It's
does.
not, it just needs to be replaced.
And a lot of that's the temperature, trying to regulate the temperature.
Yeah, so we
in that
need to put
facility.
the appropriate materials in there for the weather conditions that it faces.
Right, and part of that was windows, and that's why we replaced the windows on the visitor side. And when we walked on last week, Mr. Jordan even mentioned about the possibility of doing that on the home side as well.
Yeah, it needs it on both sides.
Right. Yes, ma'am, so we are working on that already.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Ms. Carter.
Madam Chair, members of the board, we appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. We're gonna,
I don't know why it's doing that. It's working here, it's
There you
not
go.
working there.
Can we dim the lights a little, maybe, would help the viewing?
Yeah, I don't know. I tried to get it up on
Yeah.
both. For some reason, it's not. It doesn't cooperate on that.
You got it?
Now I took it off.
I'll just leave it up there, it's fine.
so anyway, this of course is your district office, and we're looking at replacing the mechanical here. And the project sounds simple, we replace the mechanical, but there's a lot more involved naturally than you think. We're roughly, in this particular building, roughly 21,000 square feet. The new mechanical system that we're looking at doing is a VAV, variable air volume system. And that gives us very good control. The units that we're using require not a whole lot of maintenance. The air supplied is very good air with low humidity, etc. And so high quality air that we're putting in. And by putting CO2 detectors, carbon dioxide detectors in the units, our fresh air, you don't have a lot of people typically in this building. So we don't have to bring a lot of fresh air in. And that was one of the problems with other systems that possibly have been looked at is the fresh air intake. It brings a lot of fresh air in. When we bring that fresh air in, we have more humidity problems, which leads to a lot of different issues. So in addition to this project, we're looking at ceilings. We've got painting, plumbing with condensation lines. We've also got the mechanical units, ductwork, ventilation control and controls. And then the electrical side, we've got HVAC power, lights, emergency lights, fire alarm, etc. that will be part of this project. As a side project to this, and if we could, Dr. Newman, maybe go to the next slide.
Yep.
Yeah, apologize for having you get up. Well, yeah, that's it. So we're looking at renovating one portion. As you approach this complex, to the immediate right, there's the old vocational building, and there's a portion of this where we're looking at making offices, etc. Part of that could be utilized as a kind of a stopgap, so that while we're putting the mechanical in this building, you can move people into this portion of the building. Again, as you approach this building, to the immediate right. The back portion of that could be utilized for on the far right, could be utilized for a lot of different things, meetings like this. It's roughly 3,100 square feet in that particular area. I think the room we're in is a little more than 2,000 square feet. So with toilets, etc., possibly a small refreshment type room there with it. And again, this is still in planning phases, but we're still looking at that. And then various departments, and those, we've got different colors there showing where you can put, a department, and that those departments could be bigger, smaller, etc. But we're just showing some areas there that you could utilize in addition to break rooms, those types of areas also. So those are kind of the plans we have. Dr. Newman, I can go into it more or less. You tell me.
Flip on the light. Yeah, okay, we flip on the light. And so, a couple of things, again, when we started looking at the space, we couldn't look at that space truthfully until we made the move out to 52 with the other maintenance being able to move outside of there. And so, for example, from a space standpoint, we don't really have any place to eat. The people that work in this building don't have a place to eat. And so they find like sometimes they eat in this room, sometimes they eat in room 3, sometimes they eat in, there's a very small break room where there's a bathroom. But typically, you're gonna see 6 to 8 people eating at any given time in this building. They don't have a place to do that. Office space, this is the same exact space we've had. We've not really as much added folks as people have kind of just managed their space. So for example, you've got some directors that have offices with a door that they can close and talk on the phone, and you have some of them that just have a cubicle. And so there's kind of a equity issue as far as folks being able to do their job and what the environment looks like that they're in at this point in time. And then again, you can, that space-wise, we originally thought about from a professional development standpoint, a place we're always using the conference center at Mayo. And, and it's great and it's beautiful, but we're using it all the time. And so this could be another space that we have where we can utilize for professional development as well. And now that we looked at 2 different spaces now, see again, 2 years ago, the costs were minimal on both of these. I mean, minimal. And now all of a sudden, we're getting the quotes back and we're like, oh my gosh, well, we may be able to combine the 2 spaces to accommodate the needs that we're talking about. But the biggest thing is that in this space here, it's gonna, we've got to get this space fixed before it completely shuts this whole building down, and then we don't have anything to do at that point in time. But just looking at how we can best utilize space around the district, again, to where it can be multi-purpose types of spaces. So for example, and you see the big room there, all of a sudden, does that become esports? Where we had that in just one classroom over at the other building, and then we had offices. Well, what about if, the annex office space could all of a sudden move into this space? So we can figure out how to kind of combine some things, but we're in a bind as far as some of the buildings that we currently have. We continue to put money like the roof at the annex, for example. That's just something we've just been duct taping as much as possible. At some point in time, it just doesn't make sense to put money in that building. We just have to do something with space to make it accommodate multi-purpose as much as possible. And so that's where the designing came in. And like I said, a couple of years ago, it wasn't even a drop.
It's interesting you having this conversation, Joe. Someone brought to my attention the fact that in technology, for an example, we used to have all males, but now, and in maintenance and whatever, if we are going to refurbish that area, I would hope that there would be some consideration for additional bathrooms.
Yes,
for
sir.
females.
As a matter of fact, if you look at the area that we're calling professional development, but there's group toilets there for it that we have that would meet all the standards. In addition to that, if that space to the left, in the almost the dead center of the area that's got all the colors, there are 4 toilets there that meet ADA standards. And again, we would be going through the same OSF processes, et cetera, that we have to do so. To be sure that we meet all of those codes. One of the big projects with this is meeting ADA accessibility, and so you'll notice the stenciled area where you come in that have steps and ramps to get into that building. So
Another thing too is storage for records.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, it's all over the place in the school district. We don't have a set space for records that we have to keep by law, and that they really should be in a type of room that is fireproof, that is controlled from a HVAC standpoint. So we have records in many different places that we have to traipse around to get, and again, putting those in one space to where they can be cataloged the way they need to be in that space, that's another point that we have here.
How are we doing with, this is off the subject to a degree, but how are we doing with the transcripts for people who finished school some years ago? Because that question gets asked a lot. How do I get my high school copy of my transcript?
Yeah. And so, you know, a lot has been digitized recently. So there's some things that you can digitize, but there's some things that you have to keep the original copies of. And so, you know, we were looking up some board minutes from 1950 a couple weeks ago, and
Warren, do you remember?
they're on microfiche.
Oh, 51, okay.
So, but they're on microfiche, you know, and so we're having to weave through that old microfiche system to try to track down board minutes. We need to, you know, we're going to get those digitized and taken care of. But there's some records you gotta keep the physical copies of them. And right now, for example, when we demolished Lamar Elementary School, all of a sudden, one of those, I think it was an attic room, was it upstairs? There were all kinds of records from the old school district there.
One of my people
you do
spent
know
almost
that
a week going through boxes
Yeah.
of records.
Yeah, I might be coming to get you, better watch out.
So, you know, you gotta retain
Yeah.
those. So anyways, that's just another, I mean, again, more of a multi-purpose type of fit that we can be comfortable. Bathrooms are a big part of it, you know, again.
If we move forward with this, what time frame are we looking at?
As far as moving forward with HVAC portion,
No, this renovation.
that renovation, we're looking probably, we could start somewhere, probably midsummer, by the time we got to get an OSF approval, et cetera. So,
I know that's not a final plan, obviously, but just curious, would you not want to at least have some access to that common area room in the back instead of all coming from the exterior?
you could, and there's an opportunity to do that through
I
a
know it's not
custodial
finished,
area.
but just, you hate not to have an internal.
Right.
And about how long will the project take?
Would probably, a lot of that depends on the supply chain, being able to get different units, being able to get products. I was on a project site before Christmas, and I made a complaint about how they didn't have a whole lot of drywall work done. And he said, and the superintendent told me, he said, you see these metal studs sitting out in the yard? I said, yeah. He said, they're just arrived this morning. I said, you hadn't been able to get metal studs? And he said, no. He said, we just got them. So anyway, it's all kind of quirks in the industry. And, I would have to say that you know, a project like that in certainly 8 months' time should take care of it.
So we can use some of that, ESSA funds
For
HVAC.
HVAC and this building.
Right.
This is the one where it's gotta be, the HVAC's gotta be replaced in this building, right? But anything new, I don't know if we can use it for the new piece over there. But certainly we were able to put any dollars associated with this particular building,
You can do it,
we
right?
can use for ESSER.
The issue is we just have to look at the timing
Yep.
and make sure we could use it prior to the 24 deadline. 2024
Well,
deadline.
then do decisions need to be made in order to do that? How does that work? Sorry.
Yeah. So that's why we're at this point of bringing it to the board to say, here are the potential. And then the board is gonna have to make that decision, you know, soon, as far as what we move forward on and what we don't move forward on.
So what about this other side over here?
You're talking about,
Not building 7, but whatever that building is.
Where technology and all this.
section.
yep. So ironically, we asked Joel to kind of take a look at that today, based on what we saw from some of the other things that we had, and so,
I've been in that technology room.
yeah,
They ain't got a lot of space to
That's
live
right.
left over in there.
that's
They've
right.
done a nice little renovation in it, but
So
it's all packed in there.
we actually,
Busting out of it.
if we were gonna do this, if we could save on, like, we wouldn't wanna, it doesn't make sense to do this and then all of a sudden 2 years later say, well, let's renovate that other side.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
So that's why I asked Joel if he could get us some pricing, some preliminary pricing on that as well, see what that looks like. I mean, ideally, that would be great, because again, we're trying to move maintenance from out of the back there over to Highway 52 anyways, and it would just give us a lot of flexibility.
I guess so, but I'm looking up here, so, you know, like, let's just say payroll, for example.
Mhm.
So payroll would move out of this top
Yep.
building?
Yep.
And then what would backfill over here? I mean, you got plans for what you wanna do
Yeah.
over here too?
Yeah, so one example is, for example, again, kind of like I was talking about, you've got some directors that are in offices and some that are in cubicles. It's random how offices were built, but you can easily put up the offices with these types of walls, right? It's temporary walls. You can build offices pretty easy. And so that's what I would recommend, is to go ahead and get, you know, try to put it in common areas, right? Whether it be finance, whether it be curriculum.
But you would move the entire department, you're not talking about
Yes.
splitting them up, you're talking about like
Correct.
moving an
Absolutely.
entire department,
Like,
okay?
so let's say finance, for example, finance, payroll, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it's right across from curriculum and instruction. So you would just absorb that, like special ed, that's one of the areas we've just been busting at the seams.
So you've moved somebody
With
out
all
and
the
expand
records.
for that group and do
Yeah.
some,
So like their records, half of special ed's office space is taken up by records, because we continue to have more and more records to deal with. So, yes, you know, so you try to keep like and like together.
I don't see anything in this list for what it's gonna take to get this building in shape. Is that part of what you've asked him? Is he working on that too, or?
It's on
there.
Oh, it is?
It's the top, it's the first line item.
Second line
Yeah.
down.
Well, that's the HVAC, but I'm talking about
Well, that,
moving one
Oh, those
department
kinds of
into,
things.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
all the cosmetic stuff that you
Yep.
gotta do to.
Yep. So that, I mean, that's in that price to some degree, but not fully. But that is, we were thinking about that with that pricing.
I mean, we may as well do it right if we're gonna do it.
And this would come out of our 8% monies.
Yes, that's correct.
Well, as much as I can get out of ESSER is coming out of
Right.
ESSER.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But what doesn't come out of ESSER would come out of our 8% monies.
do we have plans for all the ESSER money? Or we're not have to give money back, right?
No,
I'm
not
not-
anything with it, no.
I mean, cause
No,
if it comes to that,
if-
we wanna make sure we're
Well,
using every.
the way we've got it scheduled out, you know, the after-school programs are in there. Well, it's hard to gauge. We've got X number of dollars because we estimated how many teachers, how many kids, and we planned it. So now that we're getting close to the ESSER 2 deadline, what I'm looking at is, okay, let's amend the budget. Let's put in what we know we can do. If I know I can do the HVAC, then I'm gonna put that in there. And if all else fails, technology can always, the next technology refresh, there's never, I mean, we're gonna use the money.
Right, I knew you
Yeah.
you said you had
Yeah.
you know, you had a plan, but.
Yeah, and it has to be done, I mean, the things, you know, I've asked the departments, you know, we've had several conversations, okay, tell me what you know can be done. So I've had multiple conversations with operations, with Mr. Jordan, with his staff, and said, you know, we've got X number of small HVACs, you know, do you know you can have these done by this date? And they're, you know, pretty much 99% sure, but if I get to this point, like I said, I got a plan to redirect.
So I guess my point of asking is just, you know, is there any decision that we need to make here on this that would impact whether we would be able to use all of that money?
Well, this is more of a presentation for you tonight.
Right.
Yeah.
But we've got a work session coming up.
Right, I'm not saying we need to make a decision tonight, but it's
not
part
under-
of the
it's
thought
not
process.
under an action item. It has to be under an action item for us to make it.
Right, I'm not suggesting we make a decision tonight, but just for me to be able to think about it.
Yep.
In between now and the next time we meet, you know, is this related to ESSER at all, or?
Well, we're using as much of ESSER as we can obviously for the after-school programs, and we've used it for a lot of the technology refresh because we could. That's why we have some extra capital funds on hand. So we're trying to map it out for things we know we can use the money for. I can't guarantee how many people. We'll pay for as many people for the after-school program as we can, but there's no way I can put a definitive number. I can put a definitive number on this kind of project. I mean, it's a lot closer than, and on technology. So
I think I'm following.
Leanne?
So we got a bunch of principals in the room. So is this list inclusive? Is this everything they've asked for? Is
No,
this
no,
everything
absolutely
they
not.
wanted?
There's a list for the future. We,
Okay.
Ms. Douglas and I, Dr. Newman, we get together and we talk about, from today to 10 years out, the things that principals ask for that we have to try to plan for. So this is not inclusive of just.
So
these
there's a
things.
backlog of wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
we're
We just
not-
try to
we don't-
prioritize certain things. And the one thing I will say is, of all the projects the two gentlemen talked about, there's one that is a little bit time sensitive. I know Dr. Newman talked about it at the work session, and that's Lamar High School. Because our goal is to start on the last day of school and have it done before school goes back, so it doesn't interfere with anything as far as day-to-day activities at school. That's the one that is somewhat time sensitive as far as.
Bathroom
getting it out.
renovations.
Yes,
Cafeteria you're talking about, right?
cafeteria, yes.
So this list, I guess I'm trying to get my head around it, this is already based on your priorities that you set.
Yeah, our priorities is.
Right, I mean, no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't
Yes.
say yours. The priorities that you've worked with your principals to
Yes,
set.
and then with administrative staff, yes, ma'am.
Right, right. So we're not being asked to figure out priorities. You've
No.
already worked through that, is what I'm,
Yes.
okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions for Joel? All right.
Corey and Joel, thank you for your time.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
you being with us.
Appreciate it. Now, I do have, since we've got this up here, and we're talking about this, we got a project here for our, it's listed under our June, future capital projects for our June 30th, 2024, maintenance shop roof, Hartsville Old Santa Vista
Yep.
building.
Yeah.
Why, do we need that Old Santa Vista building?
Yeah, that's where all of the maintenance is coming out of in Hartsville.
What was that shed we built in Hartsville? Remember, because we had to build one in Lamar.
That was behind the school, the
Right,
new
right, right.
school, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not familiar with the shed we built in Hartsville.
well, that was right, that's why we had to build one in Lamar.
You're
because
talking
we
about
had-
Bay Road, right?
Yeah, no,
That,
we built that at Lamar Spalding.
Well, the two people I need to ask that question just walked out.
Yeah,
But
that was one.
there's a small brick building that's at the school.
Because
though.
I remember y'all, that was the whole big discussion about why we built that thing, because you wanted everything
Lamar-
spaced out
Yeah,
to
Lamar got a larger building to house their
equipment.
equipment.
Correct.
Hartsville is a whole lot more schools and a whole lot more property and equipment to deal with. And Bay Road is a smaller building than what was put at Lamar. Because remember, Lamar was after the fact when we said, okay, we
But
need
we
something
did the
for all the
renovation
equipment.
here in Darlington, to the maintenance shop here in Darlington. And then, so, there was something supposedly that was done in Hartsville, I thought. And then that was why we needed something in Lamar.
Not that I recall in Hartsville. So it's, yeah, and that's where all the equipment is housed for the Hartsville area.
So it's not all centralized now in our new location?
Not Hartsville and Lamar, no. All of Darlington has been able to move into that, but we haven't been able to pull everybody. Still working out details of what can get out to 52 to make sense from a centralized location. So, Mr. Jordan, we're just talking about what we have in Hartsville to be able to house equipment.
Okay. So right now we have two buildings. We have the old Santa Vista Elementary School, and we house our trades and then some of our gardening equipment, landscaping stuff. And then we have a secondary building behind it that was built a few years ago that we house lawnmowers and tractors. If we can do some things exactly right with 52, we may not need to do the roof, but it is right now we know it needs to be done if we stay there. So that's kind of why it's on the list.
I mean, is the whole facility used? Because, I mean, that was a
It is.
classroom facility.
Yeah, it's the whole facility is being used. We use the individual classrooms and shops
Okay.
for each of the different trade areas.
Okay.
And so there's a possibility, the way to get out of there is for 52 to be utilized with more capacity.
Correct. If I can get all of my trades at the 52 location, then I won't have to do the building.
Which which I would also imagine is, I mean, since you're talking about next fiscal year,
Yes.
we wouldn't repair the roof at Buxton Dargan and tear it down.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. But that's gonna be a decision to be made pretty soon. And I know what my recommendation would be.
When will you know if we can get the 52 situation?
Within the next 2-3 months,
Okay.
before we have to do anything for the roof, yeah.
Okay. All right, so we want to maybe continue this discussion at the work session with this project, and we will move on, okay? That moves us on to our policy items, safety plans and drills with second reading.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation for second reading to be approved.
Have a motion for policy EBCB for second reading.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Policy passes. Alrighty. Our next,
So that's the next calendar.
yeah, board,
23, 24
Yeah.
days.
Moving right along.
alright, we've got our posted for our next meeting dates.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve, the next calendar dates for our board meetings and work sessions.
We have a second.
Second.
All, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Alright, Dr. Newman, we're back to you, the superintendent update.
Madam Chair, members of the board and our audience, just a few items on the update. First of all, basketball playoffs are going on. First round, so our Darlington High School girls, our Hartsville High School girls and boys, and our Lamar girls and boys are in first round basketball games that are taking place this week. So we're excited about that and wish them the best in all their endeavors with this week. Also, the Hartsville Middle School boys and the Darlington Middle School girls won their middle school championships this past week. So that was really great for our middle school teams, and I don't think both were fully expected, and so they played really well to take that. And that was down in Florence, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that was at Moore, championship at Moore.
So shout out to both of our middle school, Hartsville and Darlington Middle. Also, our Darlington Middle, our Hartsville High School, and Mayo High School all won their recent academic challenge matches. So congratulations to our academic challenge teams that we have out there that are competing. We also had our Hartsville High School band director and assistant director, which is the director over at Hartsville Middle School. They were recognized at the national level for the marching band program this year. So we want to make sure and give a shout out to the high school band program that won several awards, but they recently were just recognized at the national level with an award. And so congratulations to them. Let me make sure I have this right. Isn't this Love Your Bus Drivers Week? Am I saying that right?
Love your bus.
Love Your Bus. Okay, I probably ought to make sure I get that right then. So, it's Love Your Bus.
Just the bus.
Just the
You
bus
know,
or the
I'm
bus?
just gonna say, I love our bus drivers too. I'm just
It's
gonna say
supposed to
that.
be all
I am
encompassing.
so grateful for our bus drivers and the bus that they drive.
That's right.
But I'm most grateful for our bus drivers. And again, the kids start their days with our bus drivers and they end them. And it's incredible the job they do for us. I can't thank them enough. And we just want to make sure that they know they are appreciated by everybody. And then also, we had, I believe it was National School Counselors Week last week. And so it's a little belated, but I wanted to make sure in public with the audience that we have out online that we recognize that our school counselors as well and the job that they do. So just a couple shout outs for that. We do have our first winter break next week for all of our schools. Our business offices will be open regular hours, but our classrooms will not be open. And so for our teachers and school personnel that work the school schedule, as well as our students, they will be out next week. And so we're looking forward for folks to have that break. And then last, our strategic planning meeting that we had this past week, that's continuing to move forward. We're going to be working on the data gathering part of that for between now and our next meeting. So looking at all different types of places to get data, whether it be academic achievement data, whether it be survey data from parents, from students, et cetera, et cetera. So we are moving forward with that. And again, Mrs. Thompson, you're on that subcommittee, and we'll have the whole board will be back for the full committee the third week in March as we bring all that together. And again, I've mentioned to y'all, we've started the accreditation process as well, which is going to be working together with that. So that's everything I have for superintendent.
Dr. Newman, is it feasible for next week being the winter break to possibly give all employees say a Friday off? Give them a 3-day weekend. The ones that not the teachers and all that are getting the break.
So it is. We hadn't discussed it, but that is something that to be able to shut down all the offices. I think that's what I hear you saying is shut down just every office in the school district for that day. So
I don't know if it's feasible or not, but giving everybody a little extra rest.
We can explore that. I'd have to kind of see what. I think we got to keep some of it open. That's the problem. And one of the things that we look at is that for example, parents that are working, that they still need to be able to get in touch with schools and things like that. So, but let us take a look and see what we might be able to help out.
Okay.
But I'm sure they would appreciate the thought that you just brought up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they work way more hours than our normal schools do, and they pretty sure they deserve a little break too.
So
when able.
We'll explore.
All right.
Okay. All right, that brings us down to board member input. Mr. Govan, we'll start with you.
Well, the other thing I want to say is, and I looked in the audience, most of the young ladies have left, but I was going to wish all of them a happy Valentine, along with our ladies who are watching by, and just say to you, I hope you enjoy tomorrow as well as you do every day with your significant other. That's it.
All right, Mr. Jeffrey.
Congratulations on our award winners tonight. Lamar had 7, I think, guys on the all-state team. Pretty good number. Hartsville had, some. Congratulations. Wow. Gosh. Well, you had 1. I appreciate all of them. I hope everyone has a happy Valentine's Day, and I appreciate the job everyone does with this district. Thank you. Your turn.
She would say, Ms. Thompson, do you have anything?
All right, you're up.
Just making sure. Okay. Yeah, my only comments are thank you for allowing me to be part of the strategic planning subcommittee. That's the lead committee, I think they're called. That's been a tremendous experience for me to be around these folks with such passion in our district for our students and to do the best that we can for our district. So super great experience for me, and thank you to everybody that's taking the extra time out to come in the evenings and work through that strategic plan and try to get us to a better place over the next 5 years. Also, I wanted to thank the Darlington Middle School folks for having me out on Friday. I went and visited Darlington Middle School. I got to see their new incentive program that they've implemented during lunch. And the kids were having a blast outside. It was a beautiful day, and they were playing all sorts of games and having a great time. And it was very interesting to see how that program was going, and hope that they can keep it up and that the kids can utilize that time and keep that incentive going. And
got to meet lots of folks there, and I appreciate that. I'm sure there's tons of people that I didn't meet, but starting to get out there and get to know folks in all the different schools. And I'm going to try to make it around and work little bit around to all the schools. So please, if you want me to visit your school before I, contact you, feel free to contact me, and let me know. I'd love to come out and see what you have going on. I know you're all doing great work, and I'd love to come and witness it. So, thank you.
Mr. Marcus.
You mentioned school bus or bus drivers. I thought it was bus drivers and personnel, but we cooked a meal for 125 of the bus personnel today.
Thank you.
And Thomas and his cohort delivered to 3 different areas, and I don't know if they ever got it. They were on the road all day, so maybe they did, and maybe even tonight. But anyway, we enjoy doing that, and again, always feeling rough for those guys. I mean, they got 95's a full staff, 81's where they are, and it's just they're getting morning, afternoons. You got it. He says it's running all day. You've got something going. Buses are all over the place, and that's tough trying to coordinate all that. That's why I don't want to lose a superintendent or a coordinator for buses. I wouldn't want that job. But anyway, appreciate what those folks do.
Well, thank you what you did for them today. I know it was greatly appreciated.
If I've dozed off, I apologize. I got kind of up early this morning.
Ms. Gore.
Okay, well, I got an opportunity to visit some schools, and I want to thank all the principals who asked me out to visit the schools. The first school I visited was DCIS. I visited Principal Cooper. Had a very awesome time with her, met her staff, and I tell you, that was one of the cleanest schools I ever been in. I didn't see a piece of paper anywhere on the floor. And Ms. Cooper asked me back, and I went to speak to the students for their Black History program. So I did. I kicked off their Black History program. So I hope that I said something to encourage the students there. But one of the main things that I said to them, that when I come back to visit you again, I do not want to see you here. Consider this as your turnaround. And you go back into your regular class, and you be obedient, respectful to your teachers, and do your work and study. So I think that I had a good time with them, and I think that I kind of got my message through, because I got a message back from Principal Cooper, and she said that the children really listen to you. I said, if I can just get one, just one, I thought I've done something good. Then I went to Darlington High School, and I met Principal Gertie, and she invited me to come and speak to the all A students. And so I had breakfast with the students, and we had a real nice time talking about their goals and what they want to do and where they plan to do with their future. Only thing I left with them, I said, some of your friends who are not all A's, reach back and get them where you are so they can be all A students, and to stay and be encouraged and keep up the good work. And then I went back to Darlington High School again. I was invited to work with the career specialist. And she asked me to do the interviews for her. I had a great time interviewing the young students that were preparing for their signing day. And what I really learned from some of these students that I had the opportunity to interview, they are kids, but they have some real grown-up problems. And they have gone through some real grown-up situations. And I've learned that a lot of them lost loved ones during the COVID. I found out one young lady lost her mother when she was 9 years old. And another young lady she told me that she was taking care of her mother who died with cancer. And it kind of touched me that all while they were doing this, they trying to stay in school and keep their grade levels up. And I found they answered all the questions well, and I told them that I felt that they were prepared for their interview. And so they're looking for, very excited to do that. So they were kind of disappointed because they had got ready and then they changed the date. But I told them, just stick to what they know and continue, writing good, they had a good resume, and they made good eye contact, it was, this, I said, yep, this is very professional. And I enjoyed that, Ms. Kirky, at your school that day. And, yes, I went to, J.L. King Elementary, and I met Miss Dr. Bridges. Dr. Bridges and I had a long talk. And we talked about, one of the things that she said to me that stuck out, she said, Ms. Gore, we have to take care of the needs of the children sometimes before we can even teach. And so we talked about the school grade. We talked about the rating. Only thing I asked Miss Dr. Bridges, I said, Dr. Bridges, what you gonna do? I said, do you have a plan? And she said, yes, I do. I have a plan. The teachers and I, we're gonna turn these numbers around. And I said, well, anything that I can do to help, anything the community can do to help. Because I told her, I said, when you look at Kane School, if you walk up to Kane School, you look out this, I can see my house to Kane School. And the community, we support you. I support you. I said, I walked Kane, that was my school. I graduated, I went to Kane School. So I told her, it's important to this community that you all survive, that you all be number one, that whatever the community can do, we're able to, we will do it to help this school. And also, I talked to a lot of ministers concerning our initiative that we're trying to get this organization together. And a lot of them are warm welcome. They're excited about it. They're excited about that the school district is partnering with the community, and they're just really excited. So I told them the next time we talk that I will let Dr. Newman know who you all are, so that you all can be a part of turning this community around, turning these young people's lives around, because we can't teach them if we can't discipline them. And so we got to, we're willing to work hard, and I think they're ready for this move. I think the community welcomes it. So I told them that I will be in touch with them. And that's kind of about all I have been doing so far as a new board member. So I thank all the principals who have invited me to your schools. I thank you for the hospitality, the kindness, the warmness that you all have given me. And you know that when I'm coming, I'm not coming to be critical. I'm just coming to say, what can I do to help? And what can I do to go from here? So thank you all for inviting me. And I have some more invitations out, and I'll be coming to your school to visit with you all. I also thank the administration of this school district that make this school district one of the best school districts out here. I thank all of you all that sit right here at this table, because you all make a difference, along with Dr. Newman. You all are great people, you all do good jobs, and I thank each one of y'all for every day that you get up when you come to this school. I appreciate you all. And thank you all for all the good work that everybody does to make Darlington County School District what it is. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Gore.
Thank you.
Mr. Reed?
Well, I've got one question. Mr. Johnson, have you located the missing sign yet?
We have.
Okay.
And actually, the city's supposed to be working to put it up. They said that it was hit several times.
Okay.
They've started working, so they're gonna put it overhead now.
Okay.
But yeah, we've reached out to them, so they all working on that.
All right. Other than that, I'm good. Yeah, I notice it every day coming and going from work.
They told us within the next week it should be up.
All right.
All right. Ms. Cabot?
So do we have a date set for our task force meeting? Where are we on that?
That's the next step. So we're sending all the information out to the people who've applied to us and saying, here's the information from the meeting. We're meeting with pastors next week in business, And that's, once we meet with that group, we're gonna say, here's a date, let's all come together for a date. Because that, we really need to keep that momentum going.
Right, we said, coming out of that we were not gonna relax on that, and that
Yep.
we had to strike fast.
Yep.
So,
I have nothing to add. All right. Personnel actions.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we accept the personnel action along with the agenda.
Have a second?
I'll say.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We do not need to have an executive session for this. We finished everything in the earlier one. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're out.
We're out.